Hey, Rainmakers. Tell me if I'm the only one that has experienced this to this capacity. Why is it that sometimes we feel as if when we give and do for people and the grace that we show them, that we expect them to give us that same grace back? Why does it feel like we have to lower our expectations of people? Because sometimes having those higher expectations of people can completely be a letdown. And it's simply because we're expecting us from them. And the reality is they aren't us. The reality is they don't know how to give you what you've given them. And sometimes we give them what we need because we expect if we treat people the way we want to be treated, that it will come back. But that's not always the case, unfortunately. Sometimes the grace you give is not always the grace you get. I was watching one of Shantia Deja's videos on YouTube, and I love her. I love her ministry. I love her spirit. I love her enthusiasm. But the topic that she was speaking on was about the grace you give. And in my set of experiences, it's not always the case that the grace I give is the grace that I get. But that's okay, because it teaches us and it sharpens us and it makes us aware and it increases our wisdom, and it also increases our thoughts when it comes to what do we share with others, how do we show up to support others, how do we show up to be what others need, knowing that when we need them in that same capacity, they may not always show up. They may not even have the ability to show up. They may not even have the presence of mind to show up in the way that you showed up for them. So sometimes when we show up for people, we have to keep in mind that they don't have the capacity and they don't have the ability, and we can't expect them to be us. We can't expect them to be somebody that they are not. And on the other hand, stop always showing up for everybody. You are not everybody's savior. You are not everybody's hero. You are not Jesus. You cannot save the world. You are not the savior of the world. So stop thinking that. Before you extend your hand to help people and to continue to show up for people, pray first and ask God, Lord, is this someone that you would have me to help? Is this someone that you would have me to pour into? Is this someone that you want me to show up for in this moment? And we need to pray first, simply because that may not be God's mission for you in that moment, and that may not be the path that God is sending them on. Sometimes God needs to get people in a place to themselves so that he can do the work, so that he can work in them and on them. And sometimes you're showing up to get in the way. So you really have to pray about whether God is leading you to help somebody in that moment, whether God has put it on your heart to help them in that moment. And also learn how to say no. Because sometimes we show up for people because we remember when we didn't have someone to show up for us. But sometimes we learn our best when we didn't have another resource but to depend on God. So sometimes you have to say no. Sometimes you have to say no. And that is okay. You cannot be everybody's yes man. You cannot be everybody's, you can't wear a cape for everybody. Learn how to say no, because sometimes the best character development comes when we have to lean on who we know, which is God, and lean on God to provide and be our resource. So remember, it's okay to say no. Say no because sometimes people have to depend on themselves. Say no because sometimes you are not going to get the same response back from other people. Say no because you don't have a duty to be what everybody needs at all times. And if you pour and give and do so much, sometimes you deplete yourself, and then your energy is drained, and then your resources are drained because you've been trying to show up and do and be and give, and that's just sometimes not what God has for us. You really have to pray about how you show up for people. Some people are manipulative. Sometimes people just show up and ask for things because they know that you'll give it. Sometimes they ask for things because they haven't even done the work, but they know that you'll show up to give it to them. So just know that, you can minimize your expectations in people a lot if you stop showing up so much for people and stop being there so much for people. I'm not telling you to be selfish. I'm telling you to pray about who you help. Pray and ask God, who am I helping today? Is this person who you put in my path to help? Is this person within your perfect will for us to work together for whatever it is that this looks like. Sometimes we don't pray about who we help, we just help them. And then when we need help, they're not there, and we feel away because, God, well, I showed up to help them and I was there for them. But nobody told you to do that. You did that because you wanted to be the hero. You did that because you needed to be who they needed. And that's kind of your fault. Like, I'm not, this is me telling you from a place of experience that you can't be all things to all people. Learn how to say no. And sometimes the grace you give is not the grace that you get. It's okay. We learn. It's character development. It builds our wisdom. It builds our discernment. It builds so many things. And it also shows you who's actually loyal, who's going to be there, who's not, who's showing up to ask, to use, to take. And if you're a giver, please have limits, because takers don't have any. Y'all have a great day.